Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm all right. There you are. Where are you?
I'm at my house right now. I have a studio in my house. I'm in Louisiana. But the
What
reason
city?
the reason that I'm catty cornered like this is I have another camera directly in front of me that's on a green screen. So I'm gonna have you like inside like a TV or do animations or whatever so that we can do a bunch of stuff with the green screen, and then I'm gonna use the actual footage of you from the call to put inside like a TV or on a movie screen or whatever.
Okay, tell me when you want to start.
Okay, I'm gonna talk right here to the camera, and then I'm gonna introduce you, and then I'm just gonna turn over to you if that's all right.
Whatever you say, bro.
All right. All right, party people. So today I am super excited. Our guest is the star of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. He was in Back to the Future. He was in Zodiac. All kinds of stuff. Like a lot of these are like my favorite movies. So I'm super excited to introduce you guys to Charles Flesher. How you doing?
Good. It's actually Fleisch. Maybe
Fle-
you should say it right. Like, wouldn't say like, I like an ice cream kern. Or I like a piece of chocolate curd. But it's Fleischer, like Fleischer.
Fleischer like an A?
No, Fleischer, like fly.
Fleischer.
Like a prick or something. You know, it's my fucking name.
Fle-
You gotta
Fle-
say the name, right?
right. Yes. I watched it.
Sure.
Sorry. Fleischer.
Right.
Let me do it one more time. Sorry.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Start from the top.
Let's do it from the top. All right, party people. All right, party people. I'm super excited to introduce our guest today. He's the star of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, the Zodiac. Hold on. My brain's messed up now. Sorry. Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Just start my shit and then you can do the intro later.
Okay, that sounds good. So, how you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Tell me. Oh, there you are. No, there you are. Man, you keep moving around. What the hell's going on, man? Am I talking to Josh?
That's me.
You're Josh Young, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
Nice. Wearing sunglasses. You outside?
Well, so I'm a DJ and an MC on Bourbon Street, and I go by MC Popsicle, and so that's kind of like my calling card. So I wear bright clothes and sunglasses.
Great. And what kind of viewership do you have here for this little deal?
Well, we've been getting around 100,000 for these videos.
That's impressive.
Yes, sir. We've been working on it for a couple of years now, so we've started to do pretty well.
I'd say so. 100,000. That's more than 10.
Yes, sir. So we normally start off these interviews by asking the person we're interviewing, what is your favorite movie ever that you're not in?
Oh, Marver, the Flop of Nishanta.
What is that?
It's my favorite movie. I'm not in. It's only been seen in about 4 countries, but it's pretty amazing.
Really? What's it about?
It's about the rise of civilization and the influence of nondescript conformists who try to eliminate the reverberation of placebos.
Wow, sounds deep.
So deep it echoes, bro.
I'm gonna have to look that one up.
You went too far, man. I just made all that shit up.
Well, so I am an actor and I'm interested in getting into voice acting and stuff like that. So obviously you're a big inspiration for that, acting and voice acting. So I was wondering, like, how did you get into that stuff? Like, did you just happen upon it, or were you working for that like a really long time, or how did you end up in that situation?
Well, I studied at the Goodman Theater in Chicago. Came out here to be an actor. And, was working as an actor, and voiceover to me is just acting. But if you're blind, all acting is voiceover.
Right.
But Bob Zemeckis Robert Zemeckis saw me do my stand-up and asked me to come in and do the voice of Roger Rabbit.
Wow. That's so crazy. Because that was the only, I was looking up and reading stuff about it, and that was the only time Warner Brothers and Disney and all those people got together. That was a really who's who type of movie. Like, with all those, like, Mel Blanc was in it too, wasn't he?
Sure. Yeah, that's because Steven Spielberg, he facilitated that.
Wow. That's so crazy. So, when you're making a character like Rodger, or like any of your characters, like, what do you do to, like, start building that? I would imagine you saw it first, and then you just, like, where do you start?
I saw a drawing, and you have the script. So what the character does and what the character says influences who the character is.
Right.
Same process for developing any acting role that you get.
Right. So how do you start? Like, what's your first step in that scenario to get going with something like that, though?
Read the script.
Right. So, you were just doing your comedy act, and then he happened to see you, and then said to, just like, hey, we want to be this biggest movie maybe of all time, or something like that.
Well, I just came in and did the voice while they were auditioning for the Eddie Valiant role, and after about 4 of those, he asked me if I want to do it, and I said sure.
Wow. That's really cool. So you were actually physically on set during the movie, weren't you?
Yeah, that was necessary to get it to the animators, because as soon as it's recorded, the animators hope to start filling it in. So, and for Bob Hoskins, he needed something to work off of. So,
right.
Yeah, it was good.
Because you guys pioneered basically the green screen technology and stuff, from what I could tell. Because
There was no green screen in that, really.
well, I guess the precursor of green screen. Y'all were doing stuff that they would do, I guess.
Green screen, chroma key, that's been around for a while. This is a whole different train set.
So they were actually literally drawing on the frames of the movie, correct?
Well, maybe not that literal, but their images are composited to form one image.
Wow, that's crazy. That must have been so difficult, especially at the time. That's incredible. And then I heard that you were like dressed up like off camera so that they could talk to you and stuff.
Well, I had to make me a Roger Rabbit costume that I wore every day.
Wow, that's really cool. Because when I watched it again last night, and then I was wondering, I was like, were you actually even there? But then I watched a few interviews and stuff, and they were saying that you were there, I guess, the whole time, pretty much.
Sure.
That's neat. That's really crazy. So it's cool that y'all actually got to work together with the actors and stuff like that. Like, what is one of the technical aspects that you were interested in or surprised by during this? Because this was a very groundbreaking film. I'm sure it was neat to see what they were doing.
Everything about it. Other films have tried to combine animation and real life, but this, for one thing, the camera moved. Before it just be locked in on Dick Van Dyke Dance with Penguins. The camera moved, there would be light and shadow that would change. All those were new tools in the toy box that went on to affect all CGI forms of animation.
Yeah, that's very cool. I do a lot of green screen work and stuff like that, so I think that movie inspired me a lot. And I loved, so you met Robert Zemeckis. Was this the first thing that y'all had done together as a project?
I believe that's correct.
And then so through that, you ended up in Back to the Future.
Back to the Future 2.
Back to the Future 2. Right.
Polar Express as well.
Wow.
Death Becomes Her. Those are all Zemeckis projects.
Wow, that's crazy. And like I love Back to the Future 2 specifically is literally my favorite movie ever. That's what made me want to be an actor is that movie specifically. Like I love it so much. Like what was it like doing that movie?
Anytime I'm working, I feel blessed. Anytime, driving under a lot, someplace I have a job, I feel it's a blessing.
Yeah, that's very cool. I watched some of it today to get ready, and you were a mechanic for the car that Biff was driving. The guy.
That's right. The same character, but in the past and in the future.
Yeah.
Terry, yeah.
That's
Today, actually, is the day that Nightmare on Elm Street Part 1 came out in whatever year it was, 84 or whatever.
really wow. Yeah, you were in that too. Wow. Yeah, you've been in a lot of iconic movies. That is so cool. Like I'm so excited to like be talking to you. Also, Zodiac is another one of my favorite movies. Like I love that movie. Like how'd you come across that? Did you audition for that or did they just say, hey?
David Fincher.
Yeah.
Amazing director.
He's one of my favorites. Like he's great.
I agree.
Did he already know who you were and then it was like, hey, come be in this, or did you just see the part and
Well,
want to
I had to go through an audition, but he knew me when I came in because I once went to to see a rehearsal for Nine Inch Nails. Because I was friends at that time with the bass player. And driving out of the lot, it was raining, and the guy behind me was David Fincher. I didn't know this until later after I auditioned. And he said, "Oh yeah, so because Fincher did some stuff for Trent. He did a couple videos, one with the nails on the face."
Oh, cool. Wow. That's really neat. So you're a musician as well. Were you were doing that before comedy and stuff or around the same time?
It all kind of came up at the same time. I didn't started the piano in my 30s, and I started playing guitar in my 40s.
I read that you were like building instruments too out of like weird stuff.
My old act was musical instruments that I just made out of pieces of pipe, and I did invent a 13-string guitar.
Oh wow. And I heard that oh sorry.
I didn't build it. I had a guitar maker build it, but it says 13 strings. Has all 12 notes in the chromatic scale in order of fourths or fifths, depending on which way you go.
Neat. That's really cool. And I read this thing about how you could hook something up to like a building, some kind of instrument, and play through the pipes or make it like a...
Yeah, I played buildings. I played the Sears Tower in Chicago. I played buildings as giant abstract trumpets.
Neat. How does that work?
It's just the same way, a bugle works. You play and then it goes through the tube. So I hooked up my mouthpiece and amplified it out of these empty conduit pipes running through the building. Plays the building.
Wow. That's incredible. Also, like, so now you're a scientist and you do a bunch of, it looked like, from what I could tell, it was like art, but also math. Like some kind
Very good. That's a very good observation. Yeah, I am a scientist and I'm also an artist. So some people see it as conflicting, but the artist wakes up and says, "Wow, it's a beautiful day," and the scientist says, "Yes, but how does it work?"
Right.
Yeah, I have my mathematical theory called moleads, which I did a TED talk about. And I have a paper on the Cornell University website about gamma ray bursts, the largest display of energy in the universe.
Wow.
And my
Yeah, that's really cool. I like that a lot.
It's a lot of deep stuff in there. Like it deep, like all the details and the little people, little Schneider, little Schnitzelblätters.
That is so cool.
Example.
I love it. Does that involve any of the math stuff?
Some of them have mathematics applied. Some of the fractal ones.
Wow.
Just different example. I did different styles.
Those are beautiful.
Anyway, since I know you have like over 100,000 listeners. Some of them maybe look for like Christmas presents or something, you know.
Yeah.
I'm just a pimp hog, man. I'm pimping myself. I'm a pimp and I'm my own hog.
Do it. That's the way to live.
I'm my own hog. Hey, how you doing? Ho, 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 yee. I'm a pimp and do it for free. Paparazzi, now like I see. Whoa. All right, you got it.
Whoa. I love that. That's great. I was wondering also, like, as a newer actor, do you have any advice for people that are starting out in that industry, like what they should do?
Yeah, don't do it.
Why?
Because if they take that as a path they're going to follow, then they shouldn't do it. You should only do it if somebody says don't do it, you say, yeah, fuck you, I'm going to do it. It's something you have to do. Do it because you have to do it. It's a passion, and you need to do it, not to be famous, but because you love the craft.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's good advice. That's really good advice. Well, thank you. Well, thank you very much. I'm glad we got to talk to you for a few minutes. I really appreciate you.
I'm not allowed to do these things, Popsicle, but there's something about you that's just like, this fellow's just like, he's professionally strange. He's odd, but he has a good heart. You know, I can sense the good heart in people. And I can tell the people have the quality that they have. It is the soul power, the knowledge that they have, the grand in the door, the understanding that they are connected. Not just the one thing, but the all things.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot for having me on the show. Appreciate it.
Anytime. Also, I was wondering if you could do one thing for me. Could you say, "Welcome to Weird Movies with MC Popsicle" as Rodger?
No, I can't do that.
Oh, you're not allowed to?
I'm not allowed to.
I figured that might be a possibility.
Yes.
But thank you, buddy. It was great talking to you. I really appreciate it, and I really look up to you, and I love your work.
Thank you, sir.
Have a
Hey,
good...
plug that stuff. Charles-Fleischer.com. Check out my website, bro. It's got some crazy bananas on me.
You got it. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, sir. See you later.